Okay, all good to go here.
Okay. Um, so we have a couple of games that you played during the last week. I didn't choose uh, the most recent ones. I mean, the ones that you just play these days. Yeah, close enough. I mean, it's they're just like I don't know 7 days old.
Yeah, I should remember them.
um, yeah. Um, well, you both have something in common that I've also noticed this in other games. And I don't know, I'm probably going to suggest the title for your next video with this one.
Okay.
uh, it could read something like just turn off the autopilot.
Okay.
And we're going to see why. Um, so your opponent was rated 100 points below you. Um, Not that it says much in online chess, though. I mean, you can expect pretty much anything. uh, Bishop b4, and a sandwich appeared.
Oh God, wait. I hope this isn't the E4 line. Okay, I should have mentioned like there were although those might have been blitz games, but there were some games where we'll see. Sorry, but there were a couple of just terrible games that I played like when I was really tired. Okay, but okay, excuses away. Just keep going.
It still should be switched off.
Yeah.
um, because,
Okay, it wasn't this one, was it? No. Okay,
well, you played other sandwich games, so it
Ye-
might or it might be not.
yeah.
uh, Actually, I'm surprised at how many games you have against
Oh,
this
people love this at my level. Yeah, I get this a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And now that Ding played it, I guess it's going to become more popular. um, so you castle. Well, this is interesting. Is I know you have a very tight and well-crafted repertoire. So is castling your repertoire move here?
I couldn't remember, and honestly, right, because I honestly struggle against D4 because the move orders are so freaking subtle compared to E4 that I often get mixed up. It's really hard to stay on track of that, but I know that it can't be a bad move. I know that casting can't be a
Exactly.
bad move here. But there's a line, and it's called I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think it might be Moch, like Kmoch, I think. Moch.
Oh, that was a player. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and
more
he plays a very similar line here where F3.
with F3. And
F3,
if
that's I don't know how to pronounce it. Do you know Moch? Moch?
um, yeah, here we say much.
Moch. Okay, yeah.
That's big.
Okay, Moch. Yeah, so when F3, I know White didn't play F3 here, but there's an interesting line, and I was looking at it with like annotations and everything. It might have been there was a game. I forget who it was, but there was a Super GM, and but basically, if F3 is played, you play knight C6, and you put the other knight back to E8, and the idea that White is kind of worsening his pawn structure, and then you put the other knight on A5. The typical A5 bishop A6 idea, but eventually
Yeah.
that F6 knight will go to D6. That's
Yeah,
the plan.
exactly.
So,
Actually, Capablanca was the first one to, I think he was the first one to come up with the knight e8 idea.
okay, I have notes in my thing, but yeah.
Yeah. That's a very topical line because when white pushes f4, and he plays e4, f4, what you have to avoid most times is that he plays f5. You have to play f5 yourself to block
You got to get
the
there
pawn.
first.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you usually get crushed. Yeah, it didn't. I mean, he didn't quite go for that line. Here you castle. You might want to go over. I mean, I saw that you play knight c6, b6, and knight a5, and bishop a6, and stuff like that. So you can play knight c6 right away, or c5. This is probably the line you're referring to with c5, b6, knight c6, knight
No,
a5.
no, that's not it.
Without c5?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe knight c6 followed by b6. And yet you castle and you go 98.
I mean,
But
for me,
you can avoid castling. Yeah.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say, the reason I castled was just in case he does play f3, then I have 98. I've got room for 98. Knight c6, I don't mind it, but the only two moves I would really consider there would be castling or b6. I usually like to start with b6 just because sometimes, depending on what white does, I can still get knight e4 in.
Yeah, this is, let me see. Castling is, of course, very common. The c5, b6, and castling are the most important moves here, apparently. But yeah, c5 is the main move, and black sometimes just forgoes castling altogether for some time. You can also play this move order with b6. And against f3, well, here we're more or less transposing to a line. If you have played knight c6 first, it really doesn't change much.
They all kind of transpose.
Yeah, this is the line, and yeah, this is really the line. You can start with b6, more or less. But there's an important nuance here, and it's that you haven't castled. So you can deal with the pin in different ways. e5 is not so scary because it tends to weaken white structure, and I think you can go back here, and it's not dangerous, really. And if bishop to g5, you can just start chasing this bishop around. This is the... Yeah, this is the most theoretical line here. There are games even by cards. If e5, I think you just go g5. And it's a bit messy, but the king is kind of okay on e8. I mean, if you have castle here, you'll have a big problem with e5. Well, that's a subtle difference about castling and not castling. If you haven't castled yet, you have h6 and g5 in many lines. Start chasing the bishop around, and you can afterwards just put pressure on c4. Castling is all right, though. I mean, you just have to know how to deal with this pin. You play b6 here, which is not that... I mean, I don't even find games with this move, but there are not many games here. h6 is the most common, but I mean, you still play it afterwards. What do you think about his e4?
Well, I was kind of annoyed already because I was already like feeling like I had to think, which is unusual for me in the opening because like this is only like maybe move 8 or so, and often I can get at least like 15 moves in of my own theory. So I'm like, hey, why am I confused already? So that I was kind of annoyed for that reason. I think d6 was okay, but I don't think I played d6.
No, you just get him.
Yeah, that works too. I mean,
yeah. Here he could have, I don't know, taken a page out of Ding's book and play h4, as in one of the World Championship games.
I didn't follow it. I didn't follow it closely. Yeah.
Yeah, in one game, Ding played a sandwich and he did something similar to this. It wasn't the exact same position, but he just kept that bishop there with h5. The game was a mess and it ended in a draw. You still have these seats though, and I mean e5 is not really a threat. If you can take and then take the queen on d1, the pin is not effective. So I mean you're still fine, I think. But what do you think about this exchange?
I was a little surprised to see it.
Yeah, I think he should have played h4. Bishop h4, well, it allowed g5 and you take on e4. It's still kind of a mess because you have to play g5, but I think it should be objectively good for you to take the pawn on e4. Um, but I like that. I even like that more than this version for him. I mean, it
Yeah, for me,
just it's changing that bishop.
yeah, I mean, the closer I get to an end game, the happier I am. Just because I think his Nimzo pawns are always going to be a long term weakness. So if he keeps wanting to trade material, if we get to a king and pawn end game here, I'm happy. Um,
Yeah.
so,
I
and
mean, the
I
stam is it's crucial that white attacks. Without the dark square bishop, that's definitely not gonna happen. I mean, there's no way white is attacking here. F4 is out of the cards. Um, it's a really bad idea. Just trading that bishop and releasing all the pressure on you. Um, it was really bad. And what about his e5?
you never like to see e5. I mean, e5 is always a pain in the butt. I mean, um, it it feels like, I mean, I guess he can defend it with knight f3. I don't know if like how well I can undermine it. Like if I go queen e7 and like knight f3, but he's always going to have to kind of babysit that pawn. It feels like knight f3. He could play queen e2 later on, but first he has to move his other bishop out. So knight f3, bishop d3, queen e2, or I guess he could put a rook. He could castle and then put a rook on e1. But that's going to take him a lot of moves to keep defending the e pawn. Meanwhile, I can maybe start undermining it, maybe even just f6 right away, or c5, possibly d6. It seems like I can create a break on e5.
Yeah, he's just giving you more breaks. And I mean, he already had a damaged pawn structure. I mean, your pawn structure is clearly better than his. And his problem is he doesn't have anything to show for it. And you can't really talk about the space advantage if your pieces are feeling as good as they are. I mean, two pair of minor pieces have just been exchanged. So you're not suffocating or anything. These pieces have very good, very valid squares. So white's e5 pawn is just not doing much, really. He's overextending. I mean, if you have a damaged pawn structure, the easiest way to drop all the pawns is just by moving them forwards. It's just going to make them easier to attack. And I feel that's what he's doing. I mean, he's just going to be too easy to start piling up on those pawns. How you did? I mean, I don't know if and here you more or less go on autopilot, which is still fine because it's working. But you already had decided on this, which I think is working. By the way, here it looks pretty effective, especially considering what he did. You still have this pawn break, though you have to be a bit careful about bishop e4, I guess. Uh, Still fine though. And now he plays a very weird ball. He plays d5. I mean, he's still pushing those pawns when down in development, and they're weak pawns. I mean, they're not going to get better just because he's pushing them. He will get them to be more exposed in any case.
Oh
What
no, no.
about castling here? What do you think?
Oh, I thought you said he played d5. Was that the next move?
Oh no, he played d5, but let's say he castles, which
Oh, I
is
see, I see.
more normal.
Um, I might just continue with knight a5. I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't.
Queen e2 in that case.
Then I would be thinking of either c5, rook c8, or d6. So, okay, so knight a5, queen e2. Let me think. So if if c5 and then d5.
That's kind of annoying now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I would do with that. So okay, so if knight a5, queen e2, then I'd be, yeah, so if I go d6 and if he still plays d5,
This hits d5 probably with the center. I don't know if he wants that. So knight a5, queen e2, these seats, we should probably be looking at queen e4 or stuff like that. That might be dangerous.
yeah,
Looks like you have to weaken yourself there a bit with g6.
Yeah.
And at least he gets something to play for.
Well, maybe after queen e2, f6 or f5 potentially.
f6 or f5. Well, he can take and play queen e4 all the same. I mean, now he has a plan. I mean, sending the queen on e2 is normally well placed. I mean, it's defending c4 quite well. So yeah, I don't know if I like sending this knight on an adventure like this, because queen e2 just leaves both pieces kind of feeling a bit pointless there. Maybe you have to play for the pawn break. I mean, it really looks logical. My only concern is that at this point there's bishop e4. Maybe you have to move out of the way first. Something like rook a c8. And then you'll probably just threaten the seats on the next move. And if he takes with the e pawn, you take with the c pawn, and you're looking directly at c4. I mean, his attack is not really that strong without the dark square bishop, but still, I mean, he has to go for something like this. This made way more sense than what he did in the game, because for now his pawn structure is held together. And again, I mean, if you play this with white and you're assuming these weaknesses, you have to attack. I mean, he tried, but d5.
No. Sorry, can we just go back though? What were we thinking was the best option here? Rook c8.
I think I like rook a c8. I mean, it's more or less typical, but I want to play these seats without bishop e4 being a problem.
Okay.
So, I just get out of the way, and on the next move, I try to make the break happen.
Okay.
I still don't have it that clear, because queen e2, these seats, there's queen e4, and that's a blunder right there. Yeah, this will put some serious questions. Whether you had to go for this setup with knight a5 immediately. I mean, we probably have to look even farther
earlier,
behind, earlier in the game.
Yeah, d6 maybe. Yeah.
Just these sits and don't even allow him to consolidate. Play bishop b7, knight d7, and take. With the bishop on b7, this maneuver is not it's not available. It will take a lot more time for white to arrange, I think. And well, hitting the center immediately always will put white on his toes. I mean, bishop d3. You can play knight d7. Well, there's still bishop e4. I don't know if it's that important, but you can also play it like this. And knight d7 already having some kind of crisis on e5. Yeah, you should definitely be much better here, or at least better. c5, and you start chipping at those center pawns. I don't know, with knight d7 or knight c6 maybe even. I'm always a bit concerned about bishop before. That's it, but maybe it's not such a terrible thing here. But the point is, here you had already decided on the setup with knight a5, and maybe you didn't consider that much what effect his pawn pushing was having in the position. At this point, it's still not that important. You have a very much playable position. It's not the end of the world. But this is what I'm most interested in. He plays d5 here, which is a terrible move. It's just it's losing something right now.
I probably played knight a5 here.
You play knight a5, yeah. I don't know if instantly, but you did play it, well, quite quickly, yeah. It took like 8 seconds. I don't know. D5 is kind of signals a critical moment. I mean, D5 is a very violent move, and it can easily go bad for white. What do you think is the biggest problem? And there's one problem bigger than knight a5.
Oh, do I just win? Do I win e4 here? Can I take on d5 and then d3 and then on e5?
Looks like it, yeah. And this is just downright disastrous for yeah, he's dropping. I mean, if he castles just to get out of this, he's dropping this, and I don't know if e5 is not gonna follow. So, and you probably play bishop takes and get rid of.
Maybe he could take on. Could he take on c6 instead of recapturing on d3?
Oh, you mean c takes?
Yeah.
e5?
Yeah.
But now we can capture on e5 because we have stuff like knight takes f3 with the discovered.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's just losing. Well, a pawn, he's probably gonna lose more than that and get a terrible position. I mean, if bishop takes, knight takes f3.
Yeah, and his pawn
and he loses.
His pawns suck. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing. He loses the pawns and his structure is still worse. So yeah, that was a pretty easy refutation. The thing is, it looks like you had already decided on knight a5 and you played almost whatever he did.
Yeah.
And that's a trend you have to fight against. I mean, in this case, you're still in better shape, but the other move was just winning, essentially. It was very clear, very easy. I know about it. We all have an autopilot that is kind of hard to switch off. And yeah, sometimes we have the setup in our minds and we just go for it. But the thing is that if you do this too mechanically, then you're going to lose a lot of opportunities. And sometimes it's gonna even hurt you. In this game, you end up winning anyways. I mean, your opponent insists with queen e2. Well, this time he has c4 defended at least. And you play these seats.
That seems weird.
I mean, it's not so routine. Looks more or less logical, but
I think part of it was I was hoping to get the C file open. So I'm hoping he'll take on d6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your position is still good, but let's see, what is he threatening? Is queen e4 actually
and
something to be worried about?
And that's something I didn't even consider the whole game was queen e4.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is annoying because that's the type of thing that if you overlook, like you lose a lot of games that way. There was in my last tournament, it was a London and I missed that type of move. It was similar. I would have lost. I was just in a losing position anyways, but I missed that. I missed that move. And often when I'm attacking, sometimes I miss that. It's I don't know why, but
the battery is
yeah.
it's a problem. Well, here I think you do have some tactical chances. I mean, that king is still in the center. And the most logical move to look at, well, it should be e takes d. And after c takes d, well, this time bishop takes d3 is not working. He takes back and the pawn is defended. So that won't work. But e takes d, c takes d. Don't you have any other?
I did consider that briefly.
I think you have a strong move there. I mean, his pawn advance is sketchy. Yeah, it takes this, it takes D. I think you have a tactical shot that leaves him in very bad shape.
I'm wondering if I don't think that's it, but I was just looking at e takes so ed cd, and I was looking at knight b3, but that seems a bit overly ambitious. I don't know if my knight can escape there, so bishop a6, rook knight takes a1, even just queen b2 looks to be a problem. But I don't see what else it would be.
It's interesting in case of queen
b2.
Queen b2, there's queen takes a3, and you have the check if he takes.
That's still kind of scary though. Like castles. Yeah. I'm kind of scared of that. Yeah. That's
it's unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah.
The king being still stuck in the center, I think, has to do with it. I mean, you have e takes d, c takes d, and you can make a strong attack against that king, which is.
I'm wondering if you're thinking. I think I'm like queen c5 with a fork.
That looks promising. You're attacking c3, so he can't really take. You have queen takes c3, and then you back the rook. So bishop takes a6 is not happening. Well, everything is more or less hanging.
So
after queen c5,
rook c1.
Rook c1 has to play most likely. But a3 is dropping. I mean, you can take bishop take d3. Queen takes d3.
Queen c5 that's a hard move to consider for me because your brain kind of shuts off when you see your bishop on a6 is hanging. So your brain kind of shortcuts to end the calculation.
Yeah,
that's true. Kind of a intermezzo, really, right? Queen c5. That's a Zwishen's.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's the strongest. I mean, e takes d, queen c5. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he still keeps pawns here, and that's bothering me a bit.
So I'll trade off the bishop. Or wait. Probably trade off the bishop.
I think you get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you get rid of the bishop. I mean, that's a positive right there. I mean, The attack is so, but go on. I mean, he's not going to win by an attack, definitely. And you can
I would.
probably
I would have to. Otherwise, I
take on
wouldn't
it.
have played this line. I would have to take on a3. Personally, yeah.
There's also queen c2. I don't know, that way he keeps this defended. I mean, I still prefer your position, but I don't see it as clearly. There are other things to consider. For example, oh no, that doesn't work. I was thinking, well, maybe that's bishop takes. But no, it doesn't. I was thinking about this, but there's knight d2, unfortunately. We're not taking with check, so even e takes d5 is not working. He just goes back, and it's down a piece for us. There's queen c5 right now also, but we have to face queen e4, which might be a bit scary. There's g6, queen g4.
Or knight h4.
Yeah,
would that work? Yeah, that would work for a draw. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting tough. Yeah, he can attack g6 many times. And your pieces are... It's looking like a typical sandwich where everything is falling apart on the queen side, but he has got a queen side. And yeah, we were trying to avoid that to the extent it's possible. The other thing is you can take and probably just change everything and play the city here and just end up destroying his pawn center. He's not going to drop this pawn, actually. Well, this is the simplest solution. I mean, we don't have to absolutely destroy him here. It's just enough to wreck his pawn structure. I think this should be... he's probably not even keeping that pawn alive. I mean, rook f8 is coming. This is probably the simple solution out there. His pawns are just all over the place. I mean, just compare his structure to yours, and he has no counterplay. What I like about e takes d5 is that you remove all chances for counterplay. And this bishop is just gone after that. So if you can make it work, apparently it does, you should take that chance. You play d6, he just castle, which is extremely lazy.
He was playing pretty quick. He's under a minute.
Yeah, he played this immediately. And now this is very interesting because you kept playing your setup. What is rook a8 all about?
Yeah, I was still hoping to get the c file open. I also didn't quite know what to do, to be honest. I know that obviously the dream is to get the c file open, and so I think I was planning to play c6 to force it open. That was my plan. So yeah,
which is the typical way, but there's so much piece contact in the center. I mean, all those pawns. This time you're winning a pawn because now you're attacking e5. So the same line works even easier. You just take, and if c takes, you exchange, and you're picking up the e5 pawn. Not to mention that these are going to be extremely weak. So that was a very direct way of just getting a pawn. Rook ac8, I mean, again, you're not in bad shape or anything, but like he's making some progress. Well, he still keeps playing weird moves. He played knight d4, which just gives up control of e5. I guess queen e4 should be played. I mean, he should be trying to force some weaknesses out of you. I mean, it's more or less what gives the the same reason to exist. In fact, white sometimes just sacrifices a pawn on the queen side, and he seriously compromises the queen side to get attacking chances.
To just
I don't know how.
H4, H5.
Yeah, I mean, you have to provoke these weaknesses to start with, I guess. That should be played. And well, you're still threatening this.
Like G6, H4, H5.
Yeah, if he plays H4, you can still take. And
take what?
again, it takes D and then take the bishop. Yeah. And it still looks perfectly good for you, really.
Well, what about queen takes? So G6, ED, queen takes D5.
Queen takes. Yeah. Well, an ugly move because of the pawn structure, but it's valid. I mean, you're threatening stuff like, I don't know how much of a threat it is. Maybe you can just ignore it and play rook fd8, threatening d takes c. Because if bishop takes g6, you can take on c4 and you attack the queen. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty appalling to take with the queen and be left with these pawns.
But after rook fd8, what about just queen e4 again?
Like this, and queen back to e4?
Yeah, so I'm saying g6, ed, queen takes d5, and then did you say rook fd8?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then queen back to e4.
Queen e4. Well, I think this might be losing something already. This bishop is hanging there. And yeah, there's still h5 to consider, but that's probably not going to. It's not gonna work. I mean, there are just too many loose pieces.
But
yeah,
what
his structure is just crumbling.
But what exactly is bad in that position for white?
For white, well, his pawns are doomed. Yeah, I mean, you've won already, and it looks like something else gonna fall. I mean, for starters, you have this idea: rook takes, and if queen takes, bishop takes c4, and you get the rook back.
Sorry, I'm not following. I'm not sure if you're drawing on the screen or not.
Oh, you don't see the arrows?
No, I haven't seen anything the whole game.
I don't see you here anymore. Oh, it's true. I don't see you in the study.
Really?
I'm going to refresh.
Okay. No, I've been looking at the same position for a while. Oh yeah, I'm reconnecting. I will refresh.
For how long?
Yeah, I don't know, but I will refresh.
Oh, okay.
I'm off of Lichess right now. That's unusual. I almost never get disconnected. Yeah. Last time it was you. Okay, I'm in now. It reconnected. Okay.
Oh, okay, now I see you. Yeah, I didn't notice.
Okay.
I should see you.
No, that's funny because.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you the position I was at for a long time. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was. It's white to move? No, it's black. And
now it's black to move. Here you play the rook ac8.
Yeah, okay. So rook ac8 and then queen e4. And then g6.
Yeah, rook ac8 we said was unnecessarily giving some garbage.
And then g6.
I don't think it's going to be enough for white, but still.
Then
probably don't want to do it.
What was it here? It was DE, I think. No, ED. Yeah, ED, and then queen takes E5.
Oh yeah, but it's white to play. We were looking at H4, which seems to be a bit just destroy the center. This is what we were looking at.
Okay, and then okay.
That's the thing.
Queen takes, and rook f d8, and then queen e4 again. And I was just curious from that position.
Well, for now we're winning a pawn, at least. I mean, knight takes c5, you take on d3, and you win 2 pieces from the
Oh,
rook.
that's cute. Okay.
Yeah,
Overloaded, yeah.
yeah, everything is sort of kind. We're actually threatening rook takes, followed by bishop takes, and that's a second pawn.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, not only we're a pawn up, these pawns are just horrible. um, yeah, with the center crumbling like this, it's highly unlikely that white has enough. I mean, I think here he should go for this and probably play e takes d, which looks horrific, and it probably is.
Could he have gone knight h4? So knight h4, I'm guessing king g7.
Well, no, you're still inviting this with king g7. He has.
He can still do that? I guess so. Yeah, okay. Okay, so knight h4. What, f5?
Knight h4
No.
doesn't work, but for a different reason. With the center hanging like that, it's highly unlikely that the king side attack
Oh,
is gonna
okay. I
work.
think just ed.
ED, yeah, and the queen is overloaded.
Yeah.
If c takes d, you take,
Yeah.
and the knight is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good news. I mean, I think with a center like that, he can't really aspire to win or anything like it, but he has some annoying counterplay. I mean, e takes d, followed by d takes c, and you have a problem on g6. That's already not the best result. I'll still probably take black, but at least he's getting something for his trouble. He's getting that pawn. You probably have to exchange queens or get mated. So yeah, his pawns are horrible, but he got something here. You also have weaknesses. It's, I don't know, it's not even close to as clear as it was. I mean, you're giving him some extra choices with rook a8 instead of taking, which was very clear. He kept playing strange moves. I mean, knight d4, the knight is going nowhere. And
Well,
I think, again, you should always have this.
He's hoping for c6 somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't even be the end of the world if he got there for free, but you still have the knight even. So.
Yeah. So that's kind of strange. Oh, no, maybe he wanted
Yeah,
f4.
again, I mean,
Maybe f4 was his plan. No,
yeah,
just a pawn f4.
Oh, pawn f4?
Yeah. f4, f5 maybe.
Maybe, I mean, if he gets the time to do it, he might want to. Yeah. Again, this is quite a pawn. I think you can still take here, and it's looking great. On knight f5, I would even consider giving up the exchange. You have so many pawns that you probably don't care. Check. Knight takes. Take. You're down the exchange, but you're getting a third pawn for your trouble. So
was it Petrosian that loved sacking the exchange?
yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't even call this a sacrifice. I mean, you have 3 pawns on a knight, which is more than plenty enough for the rook. So yeah, this looks quite terrible. But yeah, you had to finally unleash and destroy his center. It takes d looks pretty clear. Again, if he takes, you get rid of his only source of counterplay, and you leave him with all the weak pawns. You took on e5, which is...
I think part of what held me from that consideration was just not wanting to disrupt his Nimzo pawns. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it was a bit too shallow-sighted, but it's like, I cannot let him remove his Nimzo pawns there. So it's trading, allowing him to trade that off is... I often avoid thinking about it.
Well, yeah, what's interesting is that when those double pawns disappear, they leave very bad weaknesses behind. That's one interesting feature of the c3 and the c4 pawn.
So they're just bad no matter
Sometimes
what. They're bad if they're there, and they're bad if they're gone.
exactly. They're just terrible news for white altogether. I mean, unless he can somehow keep the position close and the pawns protected from your threats, well, that'll be fine. But the problem is, if he starts advancing them, or if you somehow get to open the position, well, you see it. Now, in this case, you won the pawn, but, well, let's say it just disappeared. White is still saddled with very bad weaknesses. I mean, that c4 square is always going to be a problem. There are a lot of isolated pawns. I mean, here you won in the end. You play this this strange move that allows queen takes and queen takes d4, which I'm not sure of. I mean, it should be more or less equal. There's also knight f5 maybe.
I think the reason I might have done that was I thought. Can we just go back to that position before d5?
Where you play e5.
Yeah, I thought I was losing a pawn. Because I thought, how do I defend e6 and c4?
Yeah, you're giving it back. Yeah. You're giving it back, and it's just going to happen apparently because your knight is hanging. So let's say you play a somewhat safe move like knight d6. I mean, your structure is still better, even if he gets the pawn back, which he can if he trades queens. I still like the endgame better. I mean, these weaknesses are going to be a problem long term. But e5 is just wild. I mean, he played knight c6, which solves everything for you because you played queen c5 and defending the knight, and you got the better structure. But knight f5 is a mess. Now he threatens knight takes, followed by queen takes c4. I don't know. It's complicated at least. And he also has, I don't know, queen takes c4, recovering the pawn. Yeah, your endgame is fine, but I mean the advantage is probably not even there anymore. I mean, he's about to play c4. You kind of lost your advantage. But he sent his knight the other way, and you defended everything. And he went after this pawn, and well, he was more or less derailed here. he went for the wrong plan, and now, even though he got the pawn back for a second there, he's losing something, definitely. I mean, all the pawns are just too weak. Well, after this, I think you were completely in control. I mean, he even blundered one more pawn with rook a1. Well, now it's not interesting anymore. You just cruise from here.
I think he was trying to flag me.
Oh yeah. You were down to 2 minutes and a half. Yeah, not gonna happen. I mean, you can play a million moves with a lot of safety, really, because he has nothing to attack you. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the process was, but you were ignoring a lot of tactics that you would normally see in favor of putting your pieces in their usual squares. That's what I saw. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but it felt that way. What do you think about it?
No, I agree. Although I wouldn't say that the tactics were easy. Like for you, they're easy, but for me, I don't think I missed anything that were obvious. Obvious to you, but like for example, like that Queen C5 intermezzo, that's really easy to miss.
Crazy. And I'm not even sure that worked. This one, for example, D5, pawn takes followed by knight takes c5 is well within your reach.
It's
D5 is completely. It's 2 moves and you win.
I think part of that was again
was the
one that was influenced kind of that I don't want to touch those Nimzo pawns. I think that really had a strong reason behind that
Yeah,
decision.
yeah, and that's exactly the point. I mean, thinking in two general terms is going to make you miss tactics that you normally would find. I mean, I'm convinced that you normally see D takes C followed by the
If it was
winning
a
for
puzzle,
pawn.
I'll find it quickly. If it was a puzzle, but
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But yeah, hanging on to that idea of, okay, my pieces go here because I want to put pressure on c4, and I don't want this pawn to disappear.
Yeah.
I just want to win it on c4. That's going to hurt you. I mean, sometimes it's just going to be offered greater opportunities. This is the case. I mean, d5 is just, well, mostly a win after it takes d5. I think everything is just falling apart.
Because I'm staying within my
Um,
comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're thinking about these pawns in maybe a bit too general terms. Um, I mean, it's not only about capturing the pawn, and any positional damage you can make, that's great. And your opponent is damaging himself in his position by pushing his weak pawns. I mean, he has a weak pawn structure and he keeps pushing and pushing. Well, then you should probably be trying uh, to punish this somehow. Um, and yeah, there are some autopilot moves. I mean, rook ac8 is, well, more or less normal. But here, again, it takes d5 and you exchange the dangerous bishop and you take the pawn e5. This is a bit more complex because it's more moves, but the principle is more or less the same. I mean, the center is almost hanging, and I think you can easily calculate e takes d followed by d takes e. It's something that you could probably get right without spending a lot of time on it. I mean,
Well, no, I honestly think I even considered that, but then I actually didn't really, I wasn't crazy about the, of how I evaluated that end position. I felt quite naked after that, like with like rook f e1. I just felt a bit exposed
oh,
on
that's
the,
interesting.
yeah, like I felt uncomfortable here. Um,
And rook
yeah,
f1.
yeah, I guess we have to play f6, but then I thought like maybe rook a d1, and I don't know that d5 pawn looks kind of menacing. I wasn't.
Well, that's an interesting assessment. I mean that I can get behind that idea because now, for example, if you see moves like knight
The light
h4,
squares are.
I
Yeah.
get, yeah, I get why you could be scared about this one, which is good. Maybe not much is happening. I think it's not bad. I mean, this is perfectly understandable that you're scared of because it looks scary, and maybe at the moment you think it's kind of unnecessary, which is also true. um, but yeah, I mean, if you saw this line, then definitely. I mean,
Yeah, it was partly
I
that,
can.
and it was partly that I didn't want to touch the Nimzo pawns. It was a bit of both, and then so I thought like why. So then I just said, oh, I just discarded that. I said why take the risk, and yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
But
Well,
something I
that's an
kept missing
interesting
though.
idea.
So
Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say something that I missed the whole game. I never saw this whole Queen E4 idea. The whole like I never even considered it once.
Oh, the
Yeah.
battery. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
He should probably do it at some point. I don't know. Otherwise,
He missed it too, I
those
guess.
pounds are gonna hurt him. Yeah. I put this other game, which is rather similar in the idea. I mean, this one you lost, actually. You had a great position. I put one that you won and one that you lost. So it wasn't Nimzo, but, well, it transposed. Yeah, it's actually Nimzo if you play bishop before now. If you play bishop b7, I think it's still a Queen's Indian. g3. You play this line with bishop a6.
I always play the bishop a6, Queen's Indian. Yeah.
here the queen on b3. I mean, it's not the greatest square for the queen.
Was this an older? How this was still within a week? This I don't quite. This doesn't seem like
More
a.
or less, yeah. I think,
Okay.
yeah, you had a lot of games in the week.
I've been playing a lot lately. I'm getting back into the
Yeah.
zone. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think there's this might be Queen B3, or maybe oh no, maybe I'm thinking of the classical where G3 hasn't been played. Um, I think it's what's his name, Spielman. There's a Spielman variation with Queen B3, but that might just be without G3
yeah, on move
and without Knight
4.
F3. Yeah.
Yeah, on move 4 right away. I didn't see. You had a game with that line against it.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like it's a similar with the queen on b3. I know that it's an idea in just the normal Nimzo,
Yeah.
and I think
It's
often
not.
you can play c5 there, which seems weird, but a3 is not a problem because you can actually just hide on a5.
Yeah, exactly. You can go back in this case, and I mean, even if you took on c3, which I definitely don't like, it's an improvement over the game because we just play a3 and c5, which favors black probably, having more pressure in the center, and a3 being not that useful. But you took on c3 immediately, which is strange. um,
Um,
and And c5 just allows you to keep the bishop on b4 for the moment. If he takes on c5, you take back with the bishop, and the queen is very strange on b3. Whenever you play knight c6, you are going to be threatening knight a5 like immediately. So yeah, you can keep the bishop there for a while. But taking, what do you think he should do?
well, he can just take with the queen.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. I mean, of the Spielman variation and of the classical variation with queen c2. You want to take back with the queen on c3.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, white mostly spends a tempo on a3 even to make
Yeah.
you take on c3. Here he didn't have to do that. Now c4 is very well defended. I'm not sure about the bishop on a6. This is a weird version. I don't know even what to call it because g3 seems to be out of place a bit. But it's still not bad. I mean, this is more or less healthy. But your opponent didn't even take with the queen, which is strange given that he played queen b3.
Yeah,
Just really wanted you to play.
yeah. Both of us are playing weird, right? Yeah.
You got the better side. I think.
Yeah. I think I might have gotten a bit confused because like. Okay, you know why I got confused. So if I explain this to you, you'll understand my thought process of why I did that. Okay, so in a lot of lines, like do you know the Duchamp line?
No.
You know it. You just don't know
I've seen it.
the name I'm calling it.
I,
But so like
yeah, I've
when
seen
the
it on Lichess.
yeah, so when G3 isn't played and I forget if Knight F3 is played or not, but when the dark squared bishop goes to G5 and our bishop is on G7 or on B7 and then we play H6 bishop H4 G5 bishop G3.
Oh, that's setup.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you know then often you will take on C3 so you can play knight E4. So I kind of just got confused in that setup where we get to keep the knight on E4 where it's hitting G3 and just gets to sit nicely there. And usually e3 has been played. And so I just confused myself there.
Yeah, in this case, he could have taken with the queen and kept his pawns together more or less. And I mean, doing so, he would be in good shape. I mean, it changes a lot. He doesn't have the same positional issues anymore of the pawns. I mean, he has the pair of bishops.
And
Still,
my
very good.
bishop on a6 makes even less sense now too.
Yeah, you probably have to drop
Yeah,
back
I hate doing
to
that. Yeah,
b7
it's such
very
a
soon.
like moral defeat putting the bishop back on b7. It's I
It's a tough choice now. I mean, if you just it's changed the dark square bishop, you have to replace it with pawns by playing these seats and stuff like that. But then, yeah, you're right. You probably have to go back, which is a lot. I mean, you just took voluntarily on c3. Normally, you make white play a3, so that's an important tempo. You're going to go back, which, yeah, it's a moral defeat to say.
that's the worst
Uh,
part of it.
so yeah, yeah, it was very good for white most likely, but he ruined everything with this move. I mean, this is just so strange after queen b3, especially.
I know both of us
And now you
playing.
take over. I mean, the queen on b3 is so badly placed uh, that it just ruins everything with the double pounds. You're just threatening to win. I mean, he has to change plans and play e3 when he played h3. Which is a bit absurd. I don't know if I did too, but still, it's really ugly. Here you play normal moves, which I like, which is castle, bishop d3, knight a5, queen a4. And here the interesting part begins. I'm going to give you a second to think about what do you think is the way here? What's the move?
But first of all, I thought queen a4 was weird. I remember like queen a4 seemed. Oh, I guess no. I guess he had to defend c4, right? So he had to
Yeah,
play. He
he's
had to play.
desperately
Okay,
hanging on to.
okay. So he had to play queen a4. Um. So I was probably thinking about c. No, okay. So I might have played rook c8 again, wanting c5. That very transparent idea. Although e4 might is e4 an issue? Rook c8, e4. I guess I would have. Would I have d6 there? Might be okay.
That's how the game went, actually. That's exactly the game.
Okay. And you're saying that was
And
bad? Or there was something better?
yeah, I wouldn't say bad. Again, it's a bit automatic, and I mean he has committed so many positional scenes that it only makes sense that you have something better here.
Okay, so if I play bishop b7, he's got to worry about his knight. So if he plays bishop d2, I don't really.
Well, yeah, not making that much
Yeah.
progress there. One interesting thing is that c4 is pinned. I mean, the bishop is hanging on d3, basically.
So I guess we can just attack it again, d5, and so what? Knight d2.
d5 attacks the pawn again. the knight can go to d2 or to e5.
But then at least I'm already
And now
controlling e4.
Now you do have a way of removing the queen, I think. Oh no, this just loses the pawn. This is even easier. Because the rook is hanging too. I think you can even take, and you're going to have a queen d5 to win a piece, most likely.
Oh, I see. So if knight c4, then I can just go queen d5. Wait, no.
Yeah.
But then e4?
You still have this knight, I guess.
Okay.
But even this is not necessary.
Just this position is nice. Just d5 alone is nice because we don't have to worry. Like, e4 is not a threat anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, he can never take, so you can keep. Well, if you exchange queens, then the pawn is lost.
That's something I noticed last week. A different game, I think. I think it was the Nimzo. It might have been a different opening, but I think it was a Nimzo where the computer wanted to go out of its way to trade queens. It was something like this, and it wanted to like even spend. It wanted to do it like many moves in a row, and it wanted to. To me at first it looked so strange. It wanted to like play queen e8 or something, and I was like, what? Why does it want to do that? And it was the computer was very happy, and that's the only thing it wanted. It didn't want anything else. It just wanted to trade off the queen, and I'm like, why does it want to do that? But I guess just for structural reasons, we can afford to just simply trade queens.
If this queen disappears, the pawn is gone, basically. I mean, the queen on a4 is just too clumsy. It's the only way.
Yeah, it might have even been like this. It might have been even something like this where I can't even trade queens yet, but it just wants to line things up and then push the d pawn. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember that. And I was really like, what the heck is this move about?
It's quite typical, and it's useful too. I mean, normally the queen, to defend the pawn on c4, it should be on e2. I mean, the optimal setup, so to speak, is the queen on e2, the knight on d2, and the bishop on d3. That defends c4 quite well, and the knight not being in the way, well, means that you can start pushing the pawns forward. But with the queen on a4, I mean,
it's just a big babysitter.
One trade away. Yeah, it's just doing nothing. It's really terrible. I had this problem because I played a lot with the white side of this. So, yeah, I suffered a lot with that queen on b3 and a4, and it's just not the place for the queen to be. But you play the rook c8. You're still better, of course. e4, d6, and even castle here. Well, you still always have queen d7 or so, and this pawn is just falling apart. I mean, queen takes, knight takes, knight defense, but well, with the bishop hanging, you will always have d5, and the pawn is gone. With an excellent position too, because the light squares are going to be yours. So this knight will have pretty.
Hey, you had me at extra pawn.
I don't need more reasons. You played c5 and d5, and you went for full closure.
Yeah.
You played e5.
What was that bad?
This is probably the biggest positional mistake in the game. I mean, you're closing all the roads to the pressure on the c4 pawn. I mean, with c5, well, you kind of provoke this, but d5 is not good. You have a tactical refutation to d5. It's just losing a pawn.
Oh, I can just take it. and then knight takes
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
bishop is
autopilot,
always
autopilot. Because I remember one of our very first lessons, or it might have been like one of the first 10 lessons, is when we were looking at the Nimzo for the first time. I never forget it. I remember that whole thing about, oh, what if he plays d5? Oh, and then we can close it with e5. But that was, of course, a different position than this one. So I was kind of an autopilot here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Again, queen e8 or queen d7 too.
That's a cool little thing that I know now, that I've never seen that idea before, the queen trade.
Yeah, and it's quite useful when the queen goes out of her way like that. I mean, this is probably the version now, because you're getting
Yeah.
the pawn with queens off the board. That's nice. And yeah, I mean, this tactic was right there. But e5 is out.
Lazy.
Let's try to figure out why it's that bad. Because it really squanders all your advantage. It's incredible what it does.
Yeah, it seems like you got it.
What
Like,
could the reason be?
well, I mean, he could. I mean, I know that he could trade his bishop for my knight, but that doesn't seem to be like a big problem for me.
No, yeah,
Maybe
so
he can
that's
break
not.
on f4. Maybe that like knight d2 f4 or something similar, like knight d1 f4.
Yeah, I mean, the general advance of the pawns on the king side is gonna be his try, definitely. I mean, the problem is that you have no more pressure on c4. I mean, absolutely nothing. And that makes these two pieces, well, completely pointless. I mean, you can hope to reroute the bishop. Of course, it still takes time. You have to remove the rook from c8, play the bishop itself to c8, and this knight has no answer. I mean, if you have a way of more or less getting the bishop out of there quickly, that's not true for the knight, which is stuck out of the game for the remainder of the game. Now the queen is free to go back to a decent place. And I don't know if he's gonna push f4 or if he's gonna play f3, g4, and just try to grab some space. Well, trying to take advantage of the fact that he has this dark square bishop and you don't. So he might want to put his pawns on light squares and help control the dark squares with this one. I mean, he has many ways of trying to make progress. But you do have a positional problem now, which is these pieces, which were extremely strong and now are completely off the game. And it's incredible how this changed. And it's dangerous in the Nimzo, and it happens a lot. That's why I thought this game was probably the most instructive of the two.
Yeah, this game was kind of funny. There was a lot of back and forth, like a lot of back and forth mistakes. Like at first I take on c3, and then he's forced to put his queen on a4, where it's out of the game or inactive, and then I let my bishop and knight become inactive by closing the e file, closing that break, and it's like a seesaw of mistakes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens, but what I like about this game is that it's really instructive. I mean, there are many typical shots that you had at some point, even that takes with the bishop hanging on d3 happens. There's even a famous game by T-Man where he plays it in an endgame and he ends up winning the pawn by force because, I mean, the bishop couldn't move from d3 without dropping c4, so he was forced to accept that knight takes d5 was coming. So, well, knight d2 should be the move, I guess. And he sets the queen free. He played h3.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I thought that was weird. I guess like that was a weird move. I guess he was scared of knight g4. I remember thinking about that for black actually. I remember thinking about trying to infiltrate on the king side, but then I kind of felt it didn't lead to anything. But I think that's overly prophylactic.
Yeah, it's hard to make sense of that move, actually. I think it should be what you're saying. He probably wants to play bishop e3 without being bothered by knight g4, but it's strange. Yeah, I think knight d2 is the start. He should start like that and then take it from there. Here you force him to change queens, which might be a relief in the ensuing advance of the white's kingside pawn. But still, the endgame is complicated because you don't have access to these pawns. I mean, they're supposed to be weak. To a certain extent, they are. In the future, they could have problems, but for now, they are unreachable. G6, well, he stops f5. I think it more or less makes sense, especially since he has a dark square bishop, so he doesn't have to worry about the weaknesses that much because you don't have yours.
Maybe. Do you think that's why he played h3?
Maybe he was thinking about g4 all along.
Yeah.
It's a weird move. I mean, I'll do it with f3 with more pieces on the board. I mean,
yeah, then you can play h4 in one move.
Yeah, exactly. You advance all of them.
Yeah.
Because h3 and g4, and then what? If you play h3 and g4, you don't want f4 because after the exchange, e5 is an excellent square for our pieces. So I guess you don't advance your pawns that much, and I can't make sense of this if I'm not gonna keep pushing. But again, this I don't know if it was his intention all along, but here he clearly plays it to prevent f5. And well, the game then took a turn in your favor at this point. You play h5 and makes a very big position mistake. This bishop b2.
I guess he just wanted to get the other rook into the game, I guess.
Yeah, it really looks like it. It's an awful one. I mean, the bishop, it was better off on c1, really. On b2, it's the most ridiculous piece ever. I mean, it's really
tall pawn. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pawn. But more importantly, he's destroying his pawn structure. What do you think he should play here? This is an important move. For white.
f3.
Yeah, I think f3 is valid. Yeah.
Or g5.
Yeah, I think that's the most consistent one. At least it's the less risky. On f3, well, we have to evaluate this pawn structure after you take and then you double up. It might not be that bad. I mean, you can defend g3 and you have the open f file, so I'm not that convinced that you can't play f3. Maybe you can. G5 is the clear-cut option. I mean, there's no line opening. This pawn won't be weak. It looks reasonable. And yeah, I mean, this position is hard to evaluate. This is still nasty for white, but for now it's defending, and I ask how you're going to put extra pressure on it, really, not in the foreseeable future. At the same time, it's difficult to play with white because if you get the knight out of there, you just drop the c4 pawn. So, um, yeah, this is gonna require patience by both. It's gonna be a very long game. Um, but with bishop e2, you just exploit his pawns. I mean, h takes, rook takes, and now he has weaknesses for no apparent reason. Um, you brought the knight, which has to be right. But here, I think you have a very nice maneuver.
Knight h5 to knight f4.
Yeah, this is powerful. Knight f4, then you double up the rooks. I don't know if he can actually fight against it though. I mean, you play rook h7, you still keep knight h5.
It was, for me, it was either or. I was looking at knight h5, but I thought I would double up the rooks first.
Yeah, and it's definitely happening. I mean, I don't see how he's gonna prevent it. Well, this is sort of desperate. I mean, he's just leaving the pawn undefended. I mean, he really deteriorated his position because now your plan is very clear. I mean, just assuming this weakness is for white was completely unnecessary. I mean, he could have just pushed the pawn and kept everything together. Now he has weak square on f4, that pawn h3 that's gonna be really hard to defend. You can really pile up on this pawn. Knight to f4, even the bishop to c8. It probably won't last that much, but you can keep bringing pieces. So white tried something here, but I don't think this should go that far. Rook hc8, knight d2. Oh, what's this the move that? Oh yeah, this just starts dropping everything. Knight takes, bishop takes, and here you don't take the chance. I don't know if you were thinking, well, this bishop is bad, mine is good, and that's why you play bishop c8?
Yeah, I think part of it. Yeah, I think that was part of it. I just felt that, I mean, I was down to 2.5 minutes. I think I just felt that it just felt that I could create more pressure. I was thinking like bishop c8, knight h5 to knight f4. And I just felt that his bishop didn't have as many options, that he can basically hope for the d1 to h5 diagonal. So that was my instinct.
And it's still, I mean, it's more than promising. I mean, you're most likely winning. But this is just, I mean, it seems that everything's.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't even see. Yeah, I didn't even know. I think I looked at knight g4.
But that's because of the time.
Well, but still, I should see that. With I got 2.5 minutes, right? It's not 20 seconds. I should have seen that. Yeah.
Are you threatened?
No, I'm happy with the pawn again. Just you had me at the pawn again.
And another one is gonna fall. I mean,
f5.
3 pounds.
Yeah, that's easy.
You want to defend this, you might have knight g5, and something.
Yeah.
Something else gonna drop. Yeah, this is still winning something here. G5, check. G2. Start checking. Well, oh yeah, you were really low on time here. That's unfortunate. And here you spent quite a while on rook h1. Well, now
I was looking. I was smelling tactics. I was trying to find something. I was just looking I was just eyeing stuff like, can I do something on g4? And then I was thinking like, could I? Yeah, so even now, like I'm not sure because it seems like there's almost a tactic available, like bishop g4, rook takes g4, knight g4, king g4, But
It's
it's not. But
rough.
it fizzles out. It fizzles out. So, that's what I was looking for, something like that.
I think you can play this one. I, th-
Oh, hookmate.
I mean, he still has
Yeah.
this. I mean, if rook takes, bishop takes, king
Yeah.
takes, you have rook g2 and you
Uh.
win the bishop. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's no retreat. Um, I mean, king f3, rook takes. Like he doesn't have to go for it. There's still rook f1 to calculate, which is. Oh, I mean, we still have the problem that we have to force the issue. It's totally winning, but you're low on time, so
Yeah.
it would be nice to define things, and it's not so easy. Um, it's not so easy to win immediately. Rook h1, well, rook g1, some changes should tend to favor you, but on time is hard.
No increment. Yeah.
Yeah, no increment. Oh, well, it's not so important. I mean, you're playing below a minute. Oh, here you have to be really fast. Not easy at all.
Yeah.
You're trying to lure him into taking.
I think I was just making moves at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really unfortunate because you were winning all along. I mean, this game was clearly going in your favor.
Oh, is that how he did it? Okay. Oh, too bad. Yeah, just too
Yeah,
short. If I had even 30 seconds more, I think I could do it. But yeah. I don't mind. I don't mind losing games like that. Like I don't like losing, but when my opponent has like over 2 minutes more than I do, I don't mind. I mean, it means I struggled earlier in the game to find moves. So I don't mind getting flagged like this. If he had like 15 seconds, then it's more annoying. But he had a lot more time, so it was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Plus, I made a lot of mistakes, so I don't mind losing games where I make a lot of mistakes. I hate losing games where it feels like I played very well and then I still lose. I hate those.
Yeah, those hurt more. Yeah.
Or you play really well and then you blunder.
I mean, oh yeah. I thought this one was especially interesting. I mean, it had so many typical features of the Nimzo, and yes, some automatic reactions that have to be reassessed.
Yeah,
It's a bit more, of course, about broadening the scope of the maneuvers in the Nimzo.
Yeah, I think I'm going to modify your suggested title to turning off. Oh wait, turning off autopilot in the Nimzo-Indian. That's what I'm going to. Yeah, because both of these examples were the Nimzo-Indian, and I know it shouldn't just be the Nimzo, but yeah, for this video, I think that would be a good title. And it's not just the Nimzo. There's like any systematic, or it doesn't even have to be systematic, but any opening that has very common themes, you got to stop playing on autopilot. So like against the London, or even some of the, well, I was going to say like Najdorf, but I don't play autopilot on Najdorf. I'm very considerate of every move, but
yeah, it's too sharp to just
but more systematic ones. Yeah, like the London, like the playing against the London, for example. I got to be careful not to, because I have a very extremely systematic setup that a computer inspired response against the London that I almost play blindly. So I should be careful with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous for white players in the London too, because I mean, part of the reason why it's so popular is that you get to put your pieces on decent squares without thinking too much. But there lies the danger too, because of course it's not that simple. I mean, have to adapt to your opponent's reactions. So it's not always going to be good to play bishop f4, bishop g3, knight e5, f4. No, it just doesn't work like that. I mean, there are a lot of strategic ideas in the London.
And very nuanced. I think I quite like my opening against the London because that one is 100% computer inspired, and my moves are so weird looking for I think most London players. Like I fianchetto my king a lot of the time. Like I play g6 and then I play king f8, king g7, and
I saw one game, I think.
yeah, and then sometimes I go.
Knight on h5, I think.
Oh yeah, but that's normal though, right?
Yeah, that's the standard. But then there was some weird.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't get to do it too often, but sometimes I play g5 or h5. And that's part of the idea too, with like the fianchetto on the king side. But it's and I think it throws a lot of my opponents off. And then sometimes a lot of time they will castle queenside because they don't know what I'm doing, and then they castle queenside, and that's no better for them. But
that's a target right there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. This was a good lesson. I can't wait to throw it up on YouTube. And again, congrats with your tournament.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. We'll stay in touch.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll probably see you next week then.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you.